Do you think that religious differences make communication more challenging?
Right.
Out of this.
Okay. But you need a few minutes to think about that one, huh? That's very good, yeah.
I'd say, you know, you're a Muslim, you're also a human being, and therefore we have something that we understand each other.
Okay. So that's already, quite broad and intuitive. So you're bringing yourself in. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. If you feel comfortable with it, some people would feel maybe less comfortable because it's more open. But do you feel reframed with that statement? Yeah. Okay. Do you want to try another one? And then you give. You have another
It's
one?
fine, no, it's fine. No.
Okay. You want to do one?
No, it's okay.
Okay. You want? Who would you like to give it to? This side, that side.
It's one word, brother. That's not how it's going. That's not how it's going.
The disgusting behavior of the separatists is unacceptable and will have consequences.
Anybody would like to reframe it? You would like to reframe it?
Come again? No?
Okay. The disgusting behavior of these separatists is unacceptable and will have consequences.
What do you consider unacceptable behavior?
Very good. What do you consider an acceptable behavior? Right? Opening and up.
Can I just clarify? My understanding was that reframing is a very specific sort of skill. So, we never use questions when reframing. Questions is a separate skill, but reframing is saying the statement in a different way. That's my understanding.
Again, there's a question about purity in approaches here. I reframe also with questions. Yeah.
Okay.
But you're right in the very pure sense of it. It makes it easier. It's as simple as that, because you can open things. But it's true that in the very true sense of it, you keep the frame and you don't open it. That's why it's called reframing. So you're right. Yeah. But it's easier. Yeah. Yeah.
Can we say something like, as I understand, you believe that behavior of separatists is unacceptable and you're concerned about it? Is that?
So you're catching an emotion, your concern, and what?
You're saying, or your understanding is that behavior of separatists is unacceptable, and you're a little concerned about it.
Now, interesting. What about these separatists?
I was going to say, being a separatist is a consequence.
So you would say that? Is that a reframing or is that a statement?
No, it's a reframing in order to get the emotion of the person that said to me there'll be consequences towards my behavior as a separatist.
Okay, let me tell you what happened that on the table. These separatists said, we are not separatists. We have the right to our legitimate country, So don't call us separatists. So then, that's why I took it as a case, is that the role of the mediator would have been to maybe reframe that separatist word, and try to do that, think in a microsecond about, how to do that. It's actually a real hard,
But also to understand that this is actually the difficulty, no? I mean, this is a difficulty in the statement because it could be anything.
Right. Yeah,
so,
but also to be highly sensitized about the situation immediately and be totally there in the moment and listen to it. What is that person actually saying? So basically, so you think that this other party is not somebody, or you would like to negotiate with somebody who you consider legitimate, something like this. But it's again a question. How would you reframe it?
Well, similar. I wouldn't focus on the threat. I would just focus on how that person is feeling, and I would just say, it sounds like you're very, I would say very because it's threatening. You're very upset about the behavior of the other party. Maybe not even use the word separatist.
Okay.
Yeah, it's better not to use separatist.
Yeah.
That you feel the need for action, because I think consequence is important.
Yeah.
To turn the consequence, which is a threat or an
Mhm.
amaze, into you need the need for action
Yeah.
or reaction or something less, less strong.
Yeah, I mean, I think what you have just did is that basically you're reframing and telling the other party what you have just understood.
Yeah,
That
but also
sounds as if,
manipulating
yeah. Uh-huh.
to detoxify it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think that is the basic gist of it, right? You detoxify the message. Okay, two more. And then, oh no, then we have to start soon. Okay, yeah, we still have 2 minutes. Okay, big one is to this side, to a lady, maybe? Okay. Yeah? Is it another one?
Everybody here knows the difficulty.
Can you speak up, please?
Absolutely, I don't speak too much. Everybody here knows the difficult circumstances under which I came here. Oh yes, I know.
Happens also very often, to say, do you actually know how hard it was for me to come here?
Because we have all difficulties in life, timing and relationships with people. And
How would you reframe it?
Speak too much. Go. Come on.
Yeah, go for it.
Good practice.
If I understand correctly, it was very difficult for you to join us at this meeting.
yes, that's what the paper said.
Could you also formulate it positively in a way that you, I appreciate very much the troubles you went through.
Absolutely, you
It's
recognize that.
very important
Yeah.
that you
Yeah,
took this.
Yes.
as well.
absolutely. Positive, you catch the emotion in it, absolutely. You're concrete, you came here, yeah. Not only saying, oh, I see that you're distressed, but rather to say, thank you for taking that effort, yeah. And that immediately lifts up things. Yeah. Okay, and we take it back in a second, otherwise we mix up things. And should I turn you around like this?
Close your eyes.
Can I? We got full control of the situation. We appreciate that you are concerned, but this is internal affairs of our country, and we would suggest you return to yours.
That one or 2 times.
Maybe just go away. You need to go away.
No, I haven't ever managed to reframe that.
We got full control of the situation. We appreciate that you are concerned, but this is internal affairs of our country, and we would suggest you return to yours.
Thank you both for coming here.
So pleased to be in your country.
Or your country.
I appreciate your presence, but if you don't feel comfortable, we can leave.
But,
No,
okay.
no.
So that's you're acting already. You're
Yes.
giving a response now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You don't feel comfortable.
Yeah. Which is how can you do it positively? Yeah.
I could try and say, it sounds like you feel we are interfering here, and that there is no way that we can help you.
Also,
But I think
positive?
that opens it to, like, it makes it more extreme, and then if they think, well, maybe there is a way that they can help you. So it's you
Okay.
kind of,
I can try, I'm not sure.
Yes.
Something like that we again thank them somehow or acknowledge them somehow. We need to do that. We understand that you have got all capabilities. That's why we came exactly to your office to offer our support, our experience.
Yeah. It's a response.
Something like
Again,
that.
it's very hard to reframe it because you immediately put on guard.
Yeah.
It's about you, and it's like, you know, how do you reframe it? Hard one. I was just interested to see whether it could be reframed.
What was your best way of reframing this?
Well, it's sort of more of a diplomatic response, huh? That I also said that I can see that it's good to hear that you're in control of the situation. Is there any way we can help you for something like this, you know? Or, yeah. Next one, yeah.
Maybe also something like that you have the abilities to deal with your issues and you would like to demonstrate it. Yeah.
Yeah. Then I will say, we're not here to demonstrate our skills to you. Sorry.
Can you come back to the original problem in that both parties have agreed to come to some mediation?
Yeah.
So you can come back and say thank you for coming to work on a problem that you both share and that you both seek to resolve. That's what you've done. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a bit bland. It's not great.
So you're basically a little bit ignoring it and just
a
saying,
little bit.
actually, good point, because this was, I saw this in a situation that you were sitting in this mediation, you know, everything was set up, and all of a sudden one of the parties says something like this. By the way, get out of here.
Yeah. You can.
And then you said, well, I appreciate that you're actually here at the table, yeah? But again, you're responding, you're not reframing, yeah? Really. But it's a good point, yeah?
Could you try something like, I totally understand where you're coming from, but perhaps some other solutions that you haven't thought of for the future may be helpful for you to listen to. And then you can make some decisions of whether or not you want to apply it. So you're keeping...
Great, I mean, you're giving a lot of good, marvelous advice here. It's just not really pure reframing, huh?
No, well, yeah.
Just on that, I would personally warn against saying, I know where you're coming from, or I feel you, or like this, because so many times I've heard the person react negatively and say, no you don't, how do you know?
How do you know how
so
I feel?
You have to demonstrate that, but not just by saying it.
Yeah, Tanya, you wanted to say something? No? Okay?
I just want to give it a try. Couldn't you say something like, you're not allowing a foreigner to come and put their nose into private business. It's not amusing.
I think, you know, it's a nice statement because I think that you would touch that nerve because that's exactly what he wanted to say, right? You can try it out in the next phase. So maybe one more. One more? Are you ready for one more? Okay.
I just want to see you. He is a liar and a crook. I'll never trust him. You cannot negotiate with such a person.
Yeah, also a classic, huh?
Yes, he is a liar and a crook. I'll never trust him. You cannot negotiate with such a person.
Okay, Tatiana, put a little bit of emotion into it.
Now I'm thinking how to reframe it.
He's a liar and a crook.
He's a liar. No, I'll never trust him. You cannot negotiate with such a person.
Absolutely.
So what you're saying is that you have no trust whatsoever in the other party.
Yes.
And you... Yes, but I might get that
and I'm leaving.
Yeah, but if you're talking about reframing, that's it actually. So you're saying that you cannot trust that person, and you believe that he or she is a liar. Maybe that appeals that maybe it's not true what you're saying, that you believe or...
What's that one positive or what possibly one word in that sentence that you could use?
Trust.
And maybe they've shown trust in the process of mediation and coming together.
Okay, so how about what could you say?
However, you're both together today here in this room, and I appreciate that you've come and you trust us to help you work through a problem that you both have.
Okay.
And you're right about negotiation, I think. Maybe you can say something then, but you are here for negotiation, it seems to me, so let's see or something.
And here you are,
You're
you're willing
presence.
to negotiate,
Yeah.
absolutely. And honesty is very important.
Yes. Oh, that's,
Yeah.
that's excellent.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Something? You want to do one more, or you? Yeah. How many more do we have? 4. Okay. So, do one more.
On that, can I just?
Yeah.
I just had an idea on that one. Could you focus on the future instead and say something like, it sounds like you would really want to have an honest negotiation with him in the future.
Yeah.
Or, you know, and then go on to discuss how that might be possible.
And then he said, yeah, that's what I want. But that guy is not honest. He's a crook.
That's why we
But see, you're shifting, like you told us, you're shifting from the
That's why
past.
we see it.
Exactly. That's why we're here.
Mhm.
Very good. Go. Who wants? Any? There we go. Okay.
Just a quick follow-up question while we're asking to this. Maybe you need to actually, the other side needs to change representative. If there are strong feelings about that, and or people's perceptions, whatever, but people connect from different sides too. I don't know, for whatever reason, to someone else, even if they might represent completely same opinion at the end of the day.
And that you park in your mind, yeah, but you don't say it. Yeah, you said, let's see about that.
No, not immediately.
Because these two people are there, and he just wanted him, he wanted this other person to hear it, that he thinks he's a crook, you know?
Okay, the answer depends also if the 2 people were there, or if you are in a private meeting.
Yeah, no, that's yeah, absolutely.
I think there's a lot of confusion on whether you should respond with a question or actual reframing of it. So in a conversation like that, when would you be rephrasing and when would you be questioning? Because I can imagine that you can also reply with, oh, please tell me more about it. Why do you feel like that? Blah, 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 instead of immediately go to reframing. So when do you make the decision to reframe or to ask along?
I usually put a question in the reframing, frankly, when I feel that it's so close, you know, that you know, I don't know how to get out of it myself as a mediator. Then when I start sort of to open it, you know, what does it mean to you? Like they're using some specific wording that, you know, if I unpack what they mean by specific word or an accusatory, you know, type of language, that it would sort of deflate the situation. That's what I would do. Yeah. What would you do?
Well, my intuition would say just ask more questions. So why do you feel like that? How do you come to that? Blah, blah, blah. And in the ending, summarizing, but reframing what's been said.
Right.
Just wait till the end, because then you know why somebody thinks that person is a crook.
Maybe also a good point. I think that happens at one stage in the mediation. You wanted to get into that? Yeah?
I think that, I mean, the whole idea of reframing is also to take away some of the negativeness and the strong emotions, which I think you don't get it away if you just continue with questions, actually. It's rather the opposite.
Yeah. And what you're doing it, you're reframing, especially in the first part of the mediation. Yeah? There's also a stage in the mediation, especially when you come to that hard piece of mediation, then you're trying to get into interest and needs and things like this. Sometimes it's okay just to leave the negative in as well, the negative emotion. And I mean, you know, I'm sure you've done it, we all do it, and it's that so you think he's a liar, is that correct? Do you think that he's a liar? And then he said, no, I'm actually, you know, but that one case, you know, where he was like, yes, he was lying. So, and then, you know, you start off a different kind of conversation. But the reframing is also especially done, at least from my experience, at the beginning, in order to create some possibilities to have that type of conversation first. Huh? Yeah. Yeah.
You could also say, okay, I don't know if that's good, but say, okay, you think he's a liar, why did you come? And they might tell you. Well, actually, but he could tell you, actually, despite this fact, we could find a way of talking together. Yeah?
Could you say things like, yeah, I understand that sometimes it's difficult, blah blah blah, or it would sound.
Then you're already becoming not a reframer, but you're already becoming sort of the mediator who's saying, let's be nice to each other, let's have a nice conversation. Yeah, I think you can do that a little bit later, but it's not a technical reframing of it. Okay, so you see that this is, yeah?
Just a quick one. Would it be appropriate to say something to find out if there's something that's happened since that person agreed? Like, okay, so you say to the person after they've said this, I hear that you don't trust him, and is there something that's changed since we agreed to mediate?
I think that's being done very often in mediations, this type of practice. Yeah. I'm not sure that this is a technical sort of proper reframing, but I think also that's what you do at the beginning of a session. What has changed? It's absolutely. Yeah. Okay. Who wants to give it a try?
Maybe you could question him what is perfect for him. You just ask him what would be perfect for you.
Can you simply
That's the psychologist asking. We're not perfect.
Can you repeat
Again, a question? Can you repeat one more time?
I know I'm not perfect, but he behaves worse than I do.
Did I understand correctly that you think the two of you can behave more constructively?
Nice, nice. Okay.
Okay, understand what? Can you say it again?
Say that.
Do I understand correctly that you think the two of you can behave more constructively?
Yeah, nice one.
Well, I was going to focus. I like that because again, it focuses on the future.
It's open, it's constructive, it's positive. Yeah.
But I'd also focus on the emotion of the person is. I would say, sounds like you're frustrated for being judged when other people are also behaving badly. Or that's not a good word.
Yeah, hard, no? Not good. Yeah. That you would catch the emotion.
I would say thank you for taking your share of responsibility.
Okay, thank you to whom?
To her.
Why do you thank her?
Because she said she knows she's not perfect. So
Okay.
she's taking responsibility for not being perfect.
Okay, but who are you as a mediator to thank her? I'm sorry, I'm being provocative now, right? But you know what I'm saying is that you're sort of showing a sense of appreciation. And that is sometimes sort of this harmony ideology of mediators, that they want to be over-appreciative of what people say, but you have no relationship to that, to your client in that sense, But you do and you don't, but that I see different, sometimes that is a tendency to do that, right? To create that harmony, you want to create a harmony.
I guess but I didn't think about it, but
Yeah.
I guess my idea would be that, if the parties start taking responsibility, it's going to make my work much easier.
Yeah, that you could even say that.
I don't think so because she feels guilty.
Yeah.
So that perception of others, let's go beyond together.
Okay. Okay.
If I got it right, not necessarily the team with interest and so forth, but actually to understand the context. But they're actually also talking about who might need what, or what are the interests, what are the positions. At some point there was a discussion about timing, and they would probably have done differently in terms of whom to meet when. But of course we needed an order of the meetings, but they would probably have decided, if I'm right, Bolsho before first. So I think that's certainly very important to...
We did it. No.
We would
We did
have
as
done
if.
that.
We did as if.
You did as if. Then I think very important, especially in a team, is to clarify the roles, which was somehow done in the first meeting, then not really in the second, and then again better in the two others. But it's also a matter of time between the meetings, but I think also, and sometimes well, it was always done, but more or less extensive, is to try to find actually what could be the interest, how could we get that person, what should we give that person to get him or her on the boat. So I think that's a part that is important. To analyze the person and who is behind the person, what are the power relations of that person, what are the obligations of that person. Oh, really? Let me say something. And yeah, then at some point we did a reflection actually after Miss Elizabeth, since she was extremely distant and actually what was the impact on them, and somebody said that actually for me I felt uncomfortable, so I didn't say anything, so I just cut off. So I think also this self-reflection afterwards, what was my reaction on the behavior of the other. Yeah, otherwise there are a couple of questions, which some were more useful, other less useful. I don't know which one. For instance, one was good when you asked, who was it? Again, Bolsho, how do you see the situation? Actually, let him first, unveil the story. What else? You can also help me. There was one or two good questions. You should not let the people. Yeah, and some things were not so good. This I just pick out sentences I wrote down. So, for instance, we should not let your people suffer more. Which he was, and of course he was immediately, what the hell do you know about my people? So if we suffered, we will be able to suffer a little bit more. But so what else when we come to yeah, and then somebody also said actually, because he was seeking for recognition, so somebody said actually when you come to the table, this is a kind of a recognition. So there were this type of useful and sometimes less useful questions.
Okay, thank you, Pascal. Thank you. To group number 2? Yeah?
Yes. So I begin with round 1. This was Chief Toss, and he was very strong, and it was the first time that the group was mediating, so they were a little bit confused, and they were also astonished about his attitude, so they were a little bit shy afterwards, and they forgot the communication tools, so that they were more discussing with him than using these tools. So it was round 1. Then also with Miss Elizabeth, the same confusion, and they were also speechless, so...
Speechless. I guess this will be common for all of us.
Yes, traumatizing. They looked always to each other who now should speak and what can we do, but there's limitations there, so...
Yeah.
And yes, round 3 and 4 they were more easier. We had one mediator who stepped away.
What?
We had one mediator who slept, who fell asleep.
Happens, by the way, happens. I've seen that before.
3 rounds.
Yeah, you could have not done an active listening.
Yeah.
So the more rounds you make, the better the group group worked. So
Okay.
it was,
No, but you don't remember one of us falling asleep.
Yeah, name them.
No, you don't have to name, but we don't have we
I
don't
didn't
have
see anyone falling asleep.
Oh, sure, if you see any
No, not really. Maybe it was an assumption. I didn't fall asleep.
perhaps it can be.
Ah, okay. Okay. There is a different reading of the body language. Yeah. Maybe we were just intensively listening with closed eyes, right?
That's better.
Then I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I'm reading the body language
Okay.
in a not way. Yes.
Okay.
Come on. Okay.
Any other observations sort of on the meta level, what you have observed in terms of the dynamics of the negotiations, what kind of tools were used?
The tools were very were not so used because they were so concentrated to convince the parties.
Interesting, isn't it? Yeah. So it's thinking about how do I get that person over to come to my table.
But in the last round there were much better questions than in the three first rounds.
Because then you start to get the hang of it, right? Yeah. Okay, group number 3.
I think I observed almost the same thing. I think that was sequencing was one of the first things. I saw that we started with Elizabeth. And it was really a hard start. And I think if we would have talked to President yesterday first, we would have had more arguments come in. And the other thing was that I think, especially at the beginning, the focus was on how to convince the parties. It was not about listening, what are their views, interests, but then it changed over time. So I think in every session there were more questions.
How much, maybe this is also for the other coaches, how much trust building did you feel happened during the sessions? Because you were goal oriented to get that other, that party to come and join you. Is that, how did you do that? I mean, sometimes one is very tempted to actually manipulate the parties even to come to, to come to the mediation process. But what was your experience? Your observation?
I think maybe you can say so.
Yeah, well, actually, I would like the observers first to have a word, and then the parties, the individual teams can have a
I think it was quite different. I think it might work out best with yesterday and Bolshoi, but with Bolshoi it was more like, it would be good if you hear you're important or you have good relations. And with Chifos as well, but I think they should have maybe worked more with his emotions, because he had his need for recognition, and maybe to use or to reflect a little bit more on the emotional level as well.
Okay.
And Elizabeth was difficult to do some trust building.
Yeah, but that's your observations, but I want to hear about your team. How they managed Elizabeth.
I think it was more on persuading and trying to tell why we are better than you,
right?
and not so much about trust.
Grand classique, absolutely.
But what I wanted to say, what they did good was that in the beginning they defined the roles, and that worked well. There was one person, Tanya, leading the discussions, and the other getting in, and I think that worked quite well. And also the others might have more reflection, or if I hear you say this, and what might be.
Clarification of the roles in the team is absolutely key, and that you get to learn very fast once you go through that first one, and you kind of get a feeling that it's not clear. Absolutely. Very good. Fourth group? Observations? The observations?
Actually, I found it professional. Yeah, it was good. I mean, I felt almost that ambience that we could feel from Mr. yesterday or Elizabeth. And the questions that they were asking were pertinent. And, they applied what we studied here. They tried to find out some transforming to positive to see if there is any possibility to negotiate with. It went okay. But we could see the resistance of all this party that they are resisting and they don't want to negotiate. But finally, with some questions, they could get that possibility is there and they would like eventually to come to mediation.
So you had a feeling that the way of how the questions were being asked
yes, it is
created
very
a commitment.
important to maintain distance and at the same time it was a good harmony between the questions that they were asking and the feedback coming in.
Okay. Good. Thank you. Now I'm looking again, checking the time a little bit. I would like to have the individual actors. First of all, can you give them a hand for thanking them for that? Thought that was quite challenging actors to play with, but that's what their role was, right? So, let's just be blunt and open about it. Is that with what group are you going to engage in a mediation today? That's today.
I would choose Tanya's group and Antje's group.
So same.
Your group and Tanya's group.
Okay. And can you just give me 2 reasons why?
Well, Tanya was really, she was playing friend card, like, do you remember me? And she was very professional, very, very diplomatic.
Okay, which Tanya are we talking about? Okay.
Tanya.
And
3 Tanya.
3, yeah?
Yeah.
Never happened before.
Tanya, Tatjana, and Tanya. Okay.
And she chose the words very carefully, and I planned on playing the I'm in power and I'm a very important person, and she acknowledged that through a way of talking to me.
Okay.
So that was like, okay, I might be bitchy now, but I will continue talking to you. And Roger really saved it because it was really going downhill with his group. They were switching a lot amongst themselves, sort of even coming to the point where they say that I wasn't trustworthy. And then Alex went like, oh yeah, well, at the end of the day, I think we all want the same, and let's think about the future, and so maybe we can come back and talk another time. I was like, okay, well, you can get that.
Okay, excellent. You know, this is a wonderful result, because what in these type of meetings, the one thing you want to get out of that meeting, what is that one thing? Another meeting. That's what you want. So well done. Okay. Okay. Acknowledge the party. I'm going to have to refine a little bit of it, and we'll work on that tomorrow morning. David?
No, it's okay.
No, go ahead. You're the power base. You got all the money.
Oh no, actually, no. Herrberg, because he has to.
Yeah. No, I just decided I'll call my cousin about here an hour later.
Oh really? Okay.
Mediation work.
Wait, are you guys sitting by groups, right?
Yeah, more or less.
Yeah, we're groups. Yeah, a little bit.
More or
So
less,
just.
Group.
So which would you go with one group and just give me why that is?
They would invite me in any case.
I mean, I was feeling pretty comfortable with this group. I mean, there were some groups which like actually scared me. The first one, I think that was with
We were scared too.
I mean, I wasn't you know, because it was like my first round and I was like scared and what to do. Then comes like this team and you know, asking like difficult questions, which I really didn't like understand.
But you played it so cool that we were scared.
Yeah. It's that poker face, right? Yeah. And then, but it's an interesting observation is that sometimes we mediators are so complex, you know, we think we outsmart sometimes the parties that we want to talk to, and we confuse them, right? You have all these wonderful prepared questions and they're not even there yet. It's interesting, huh? Yeah. But I want to know what you liked about the group that you would go with.
I mean, in general, I was okay with every group.
Uh-huh.
You just like them.
Yeah, I mean,
I enjoyed his role.
Why did you like it? Okay, tell me why. What happened?
For example, with this group, I was really comfortable, for example, because they were not being, you know, aggressive or intriguing, let's say, like that. You know, they were respecting when I was saying, you know, something more. I wasn't able, like, to talk about it for a moment, and that's important for me.
Okay, so they gave you a feeling that you were safe in that sense, or they made you feel comfortable.
Safe, but that, like, at least we could, like, talk without feeling each other.
Okay.
Like, in the room.
Right. Okay, thank you. Anything else you want to say? No? Okay. President yesterday. What group would you go with and why?
I have actually difficulties to tell with what group I would go with, because I felt all of them, at least as far as my role was concerned, all of you had very clear stated questions. You were very clear about what your objectives are. In this respect, I mean, there were different approaches. There was this very clear approach again with the group where Tanya was kind of the spokesperson. You were very clear. With you, I had to concentrate most. As you but I couldn't really say with what group, because I think they all brought across what they wanted from me, and I think that's at this stage the important thing. I realized myself that I sometimes had to be careful to think about there might be other meetings. I have to be careful not to give away too much as well. That's what I sometimes, especially towards the end, I realized, hey, come on, be careful. We need something to play tomorrow again.
Absolutely. So anything
I think that is probably something which is in real life as well, that you realize, hey, come on, calma, don't rush.
Right, don't
give away too
important for
much.
the parties as well, especially when the parties are so, the mediators are so keen.
Yeah.
You know, and then they look so nice, and they have so, you know, they're so polite and so acknowledging. Some of them have incentives for you. Very easy to pull them over the table, you know, and say, yeah, I'll go with you. This is the art of forum shopping, you know? The forum shoppers who go over, you know, and sometimes it's very, in Sudan, you know, there was at one stage, you know, we had about 4 mediators running around. 4 mediators that had the mandates of all of the parties, because they were all so nice and so good and had, you know, interesting money. It was very hard for the UN then to take back that process, which they lost then again to the African Union, but it's another story. Yeah.
There was one thing which it took me, there was an information I misunderstood. I thought actually they were different envoys.
Okay.
I didn't check that they are, but they clarified in the second row.
Okay.
With the second group, really.
Okay, thank you.
Last.
Our rebel.
Well, first of all, for the benefit of the Tanyas here collectively in this group, you know, it's the first one. But were you the first or the second?
Second.
Oh, you were second. Oh, Alex's group was the first. Right. All right. So you guys brought the chairs, and immediately made them sit on the floor. But obviously, being the first, it was challenging also for me because I'm trying to get into a script a little bit. But you know, obviously, you caught right away. I'll give that to you, which this time this group did not catch right away. There was actually 3 people sitting on chairs, and you sat on the floor. You were the first to sit on the floor. So I'll say that was really cool. But you brought the chairs, and then you realized I wasn't getting up, and you immediately went down to the floor. But obviously it was harder to get anything out of me, I think, just because of the initial startup. Roger, I'm going to tell you hands down, fantastic. Just the way you sort of calmly got me to capitulate to some dialogue.
Yeah.
You listened, and then you thought of some sort of creative way. I don't know if it's your voice, I don't know what it was, but there was something, it was also your posture. You were also centered right in front of me, whereas everyone else was around you a little bit, so that may have helped. And then everyone in your group was playing off you really, really well. So the chemistry also helped a lot. So that's sort of that's sort of one thing. Tanya, you're strong. Probably I'm looking at myself in the mirror. That's okay. But and effective. I mean, at the end of the day, you were determined to get me to give you something. So kudos to you on that front. And I gave her something, so there you go. You guys were good. I think there was a little bit of kissing my you-know-what. Peace pipe, come on. Sipping coffee, you know. So, yeah, I know, I'm in roll, you know. So, maybe a little less of that and more, at least initially. Because again, if I'm the rebel and I'm sort of the separatist, I mean, schmoozing the president, yeah, you could probably put a couple million somewhere in a bank account if he's happy. But for me, I've got an objective I want to sort of get through, and I want that.
Excellent.
It was a break time. He's sitting here.
No, before that, no, but the peace pipe part. I caught that. He was like, was it a peace pipe? Yeah. You guys were trying to get me, in being serious for a second, I think what you're trying to do is you're trying to be my friend. And I didn't want you guys to be my friend. I wanted to tell you, I wanted you guys collectively, because you work all very well together, but it was more, I wanted to hear how you are going to deliver something that no one else so far to date has delivered to me.
Nice point as well to make. There's also this almost self-manipulation sometimes as a mediator. You want so badly that to get those people to be part of your process.
Right.
That you start. I mean, you have sometimes in the international community you get invited out for dinner and drinks and this and that. It's a going practice sometimes, where actually you don't really care. If you want to engage as a mediator, it's a different role. And there's also the thin line between diplomacy and politics and mediation, right? Right. Okay, so that happens.
In our team, we were not all
Temptation.
like these. Tatiana was more.
No, that was actually, that's a great point. I forgot that. There was one point where you actually interrupted one of them, I'm not sure who, and said, which I thought was sort of, it was like, actually, I forget your statement, but it was like, I'm going to contradict what my colleague just said. And I thought that was like, whoa.
Yeah.
No, as I said, there was the chemistry, it just by, there's got to be that sort of
But
boom, boom, boom.
I said that at one point. So you said
Did you do that? Okay, it was you that did it.
Yeah,
Okay.
I don't remember that.
No, all right. I apologize. I don't know who it was. It was fine.
No, never in our we don't
I didn't because I can't remember what you were saying.
I will say this, and that's something, So that's
Okay.
maybe positive criticism?
David, are you
That
done?
was a big.
Are you done? Yeah, good.
No.
Are you done?
I am done. Yeah. Is that, it's like, what time is it?
Isn't it late?
Okay, we are done. I know that there's a great excitement amongst the mediation team also to say something. I'd like you to let it settle like in that glass of water that Buddha drank. Let it settle a little bit. Please please before you walk out, put your thoughts, that one beautiful sentence that you wrote on that board here. Yeah. We're going to do an extensive feedback tomorrow as well. And we're going to engage in another stage, but in a real mediation process tomorrow, in the morning after an input as well. Yeah? You're gonna be there.
I want to do that just like, they do it at 9.
No, at like 10:30. Yeah?
9.
Yeah? There's 7 o'clock yoga. Yeah.
No, but we start.
We start at 9. We start at 9 o'clock. Okay? I would like to thank you for your incredible energy and input for today. It was really remarkable. I've rarely seen a group that has been so active. Well done.
Only a short word. Dinner is at 6:30, and we are going at 7 o'clock tomorrow. So you have to eat before 7, and you once can eat downstairs, but by your own. So that this is clear.
Are you still mad at me?
Absolutely. I think you were traumatized. Seriously. You walked on with like,
We will go on with the role play, and then after lunch we will have another lecture on peace building through mediation, the case of Mali with Radio Herrberg. And maybe we'll start with the wrap-up of yesterday. Who prepared this?
Okay, good morning everyone.
good morning.
The two of us are going to give you a recap of yesterday's session. Yesterday we looked at mediation stages, and what was key for me, which is very meaningful, was the quotation that with logic you can always move from A to B to C, but with imagination you can go to a lot of places. Same with mediation. So I will leave that to my partner to give you the rest.
So before we went into the steps of the mediation, we talked about some generalities that ideally, the thought in my mind is that ideally mediation should be about conflict transformation into an opportunity for change, but practically on the ground, many times mediation results in maintenance of the conflict by just helping the parties to solve the crisis, and then when the crisis is over, the motivation to really work on the underlying conflict is gone. That's what I understand. Successful mediation is about transcendence of all the onion layers, but I'm not quite sure what that means. I'm hoping
Yeah, very good. Yeah.
and it will get back to it. But anyway, we have seen that there are many layers on the conflict, like we also have the picture of the iceberg, and there is only a bit of it that's coming out, but there are many underlying factors that needs to be addressed to if the conflict is to be really transformed. And then we also have seen that there can be different formats in mediation. Either all the parties have to be together at the table at all times, or there can be a mixture of joint sessions and shared individual sessions, and there are different schools, and none can claim they hold the truth, but it's just different methods. And there are also different types of mediation. Power-based mediation, that is using pressure and power and influencing manipulation techniques and works with sticks and carrots. And there's interest-based problem-solving mediation that is more targeting the interest of the parties and trying to find common interests, or how to evolve towards at least compatible interests. And we have seen that illustrated with the orange game that nicely showed that in some cases, in fact, there are compatible interests that just need to be discovered. And the last type of mediation is transformative long-term mediation, which, as far as I understood, means that not only the conflict is resolved, but also in the process the parties have developed capacity for communication and dealing with future conflicts in a different way.
And we also learned about the barriers to listening. It is good to pay attention to what can be barriers to us getting messages when we are doing mediation, and also to pay attention to what it means to obtain meaning from what someone is trying to communicate, because meaning is not like absolute. There are 4 ways from which meaning can be interpreted in a message. And for me also what was key was combining the theories and the practice, especially listening to such and the yoga processes. That breathing is very important when you are doing mediation. It is important to breathe deep all the time to make sure that you are thinking straight, and also to remove yourself from the process sometimes so that you don't get enmeshed, and also to keep reflecting on your positionality as a mediator. It is important.
Okay. Thank you very much. And I will need 4 more persons for today, 2 that will give us a feedback this afternoon when we finish, and 2 that will do the wrap up tomorrow. So who wants to do the feedback? Cesar? And who else? And the wrap up tomorrow? Who else? Thank you very much. And maybe one more thing, people were asking for coffee in the afternoon. The problem is that there are not many people left down downstairs in the kitchen, so they cannot bring it up here. But there is coffee 3:45, and we'll try to have to break then. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you. How are you? Yes? Yeah? I have a feeling this is, are we a full group or are we missing somehow? Yeah. You're here? Who are you missing? Sorry, just so I know for the role play.
He's on the way. He's on the way.
He's on the way? Okay. Excellent. Anybody else?
She's in breakfast.
Okay, Miss Elizabeth Clark. You're all the essentials there.
So I get Miss Elizabeth.
Is everything okay there? Yeah? Okay. Do you have everybody, could you just, group one, could you just raise your hand again? Okay. There's 1, 2, 3.
One is missing.
One is missing? Who's missing? Who was in your group? 1, 2, 3, group 1.
Janina. And
Okay.
and Khalil.
Okay. Okay. Group 2.
Khalil is downstairs.
Yes.
Okay, group 2 is full. 1, 2, 3, 4. Linda's missing. Okay. Group 3. Yeah, okay. And group 4. Okay.
Yeah, we have.
Bruce, would you go into group 4?
Sure.
Yeah? Welcome. Yeah, we have another reinforcement. Ah, Miss Elizabeth is just showing up. Good morning. Okay. Here, Miss Elizabeth is here. And we're going to have a mediation in the main hall at the table. Yeah. It's they are in the new stage in development in Lucrana. And there's the way of how we're going to manage this morning session, which might be an interesting thing for you to know, is that where we did the intro, feedback and summary, we can still add to that feedback and summary. Maybe there's some things you still want to know about the game. Yeah, I'm going to hand out the one-page scenario for this stage in this mediation and explain about how we are going to manage that. I'm going to give you groups again 15 to 20 minutes to discuss how you're going to do that mediation now. And then we have I'm going to explain it exactly right now, just give me a minute. Then we do a feedback reflection and we do it longer than yesterday, so we really take it as an opportunity for learning. And then we do a short, if we have time, I'm going to give you a short input on process design, which is my personal speciality. If not, I'm going to just give you
Let's make time.
Yeah, okay, I'm going to give you a handout on it and then we go through it. And then we just do a short wrap-up, a very brief one word. Okay? Anything you have, any questions you have right now on the case of Lucrana from yesterday? Yeah?
No, nothing else.
Okay. From today?
Well, later, yeah.
Okay. So, Lucrana. I'm going to hand you out, or maybe you can just take this out. The crisis in Lucrana stage 2.
Angie, did you still want to us also to give some feedback on the impressions yesterday we had?
Yes, you can hold them until the very end so that we can feedback.
Okay.
Yeah? Yeah? I'm going to give you a feedback too as well. Yeah? If you don't have enough, tell me. Do you have enough?
I think you're going in the wrong direction.
Okay, let's just look at the challenges as well in playing such a game. Yeah? This game is, if you haven't guessed it already, modeled around the developments in Ukraine sort of at the beginning of this year, April 2014. I was quite closely involved, and I still am in that case. Obviously, you know, the details are sometimes a little bit generalized or a little bit made less difficult, but the case is still very complex. So for those people who write the case, sometimes I don't realize that actually it is a quite complex situation, and in 20 minutes to get into that, it's not, you know, not that easy. But that's part of the challenge as well, right? That's part of the challenge, that you're able to get into, you get the major gist of the problem, and you go with the flow in the mediation, and you start to discover lots of details during the discussions and during the mediation. So that was a little bit part of the learning goal yesterday, that you don't panic if you don't know everything, but you try to trust yourself and the process, that you just will find out as you go along, right? And also you find out that you have to be very flexible. Okay. Now, there's a bit of confusion about the two regional organizations. Yeah? Now, as a matter of fact, in the field, as I was telling you, in the field of international peace mediation, there's a lot of sort of competition between different organizations. On the African continent, there is the African Union, there is ECOWAS, thank you, ECOWAS. I mean, there's all sorts of regional organizations that compete a little bit against each other. Yeah, I was just thinking SADC for Zimbabwe. And then in the EU, there's you know, there's the OSCE, there's NATO, there's the member states, and they're all kind of, you know, kind of cooperate, but also kind of compete against each other in trying to get a mandate. So that is a little bit about, you know, this is what this mediation is also a little bit about. So there's lots of dimensions in such a mediation. Then maybe an important thing that you need to know is also that there will be surprise aspects in this mediation. You have to expect the unexpected. So when these surprises happen, don't panic. Yeah? Everything is possible. You can also take a break. If, for example, you're in a mediation team and you see that things are not going right, you can do a short recess and say, hold on, I need a minute, and you go together with your team and see what's going on. You can, if you are a party to the negotiation, Miss Elizabeth, then you can do that as well. You can just also ask for time out. Yeah? So that is that happens all the time. Any other questions on this? No? Okay, let's...
One question.
Yeah.
Who has actually appointed RO? Who has actually appointed RO to mediate? It said in the original text, RO has been appointed to mediate.
So okay, it's good. So envoys get usually appointed as several, this is an important question, also a learning question, about how do you get your mandate, right? In the case of the United Nations, it's the Secretary General, usually who appoints his or her envoys that do mediation. This is what we call good officers of the UN. Yeah? So in a sense, you get appointed by the United Nations, which is an international body consisting of so many member states. This one, in this game, it's the regional organization. Also, it's the Secretary General, which appoints with the, this is a good question, with the consent of the member states an envoy. So it has member state secretaries and envoy. They approve of the envoy. Yeah, is that clear?
Yeah,
that's
so
right.
does that mean the Bolshoi and WRU, are you in agreement with the appointment?
Well, that you need to kind of find out. It's interesting because some people say, yeah, sure, I'm okay with that appointment, I have nothing against that person. But when you dig a little bit deeper, they're not going to sign that up. Let me give you a little hint. The first agreement that was done actually here in Switzerland between Ukraine, Russia and the envoy, yeah, Actually, it was in Ukraine, sorry, it was done in Kiev, the actual signing. It was signed by everybody except by the Russians. The Russians witnessed it, that's all. Small detail, but important detail, which created all the problems in the aftermath, because actually the mediators then did not insist on getting the Russians to sign the thing, and the Russians would have not signed the thing anyhow. Yeah? Which means that that agreement was actually dead by the time it was signed already. Yeah?
So how should it have been carried out for it to be more...
Exactly, and sometimes there is no solution to it, because the diplomats who were at the table, they knew that they were not going to sign it, but at least they were going to witness it, you know, and they had to come out with something for the international community, and also as a confidence-building measure to say, we've agreed to something here, yeah, and the Russians were here and they didn't oppose it. Yeah? Okay. Right, I think what you need to do now in your planning within the groups, when I hand out the scenario within the groups, is that you need to be very clear who negotiates, or how you want to handle this negotiation, yeah, because it's going to be formal. So the way of how it's going to work is that we now have 4 groups, so we divide the mediation up in 4 steps. Right? Yesterday we had 7 steps, 8 steps, 3 steps. So now we're going to have 4 steps. Let's say, let's negotiate this now. What's the first step? The first step is the sort of opening statements, yeah, the trust building stage. Yeah? Help me if I'm not doing it right? Second stage would be then exploring the options. That's what group number 2 is going to do. Yeah? The third stage is finding possible solutions, let's put it this way. Alternative solutions, this is going to be a rapid mediation. Huh? And the 5th stage is that you manage to package it, that you come to a conclusion on it. Alex, would you come up and visualize this? Can you write it down? Yeah. Alex, can you come? Yeah. Because I saw you thinking with me here. So let's. So first step. Then the second was exploring options. You said, what are the key issues at hand? Why? Yeah, options, maybe issues, I think. Issues. Yeah, exactly.
And I guess discussion.
The third one is trying to come to some sort of an agreement, trying to explore. Yeah, exactly.
Generating.
Yeah.
Discussing solutions.
Yeah.
And then
coming to a conclusion.
Yes, coming to some sort of a conclusion, right? You want to close the deal.
In order to prepare agreement, some agreement.
Yeah, something like this. Maybe that's group number. This is the group. Group number 4 is going to do that.
Okay.
So the way of how this is going to work, that this is an interesting methodology, we will see, is that you're all going to be in the room at the same time. Yeah? The parties are always going to be at the table. What's going to happen is that we've got, for group 1 is going to do this part. You all are going to observe what's going to happen. Observe. Yeah? Then you conclude this stage. You have about 3-4 minutes to talk within the group and say, okay, this is what we're going to do. Group number 2 is then going to, in this stage, and take it from there. You've got 15 minutes to do that. Yeah? Short break. Group number 3, working on this stage. After you're observing always what happens. You know exactly what's going on in the mediation. And group number 4 is doing this. Yeah? Now, let me please also remind the actors who play the parties. It's always very nice to play a really tough role. Yeah? Give them a chance as well, please. To the mediators. Yeah? Now, the one issue is small difference what we have here. And Herman, now you see this is something I didn't think of. Herman, you're out.
Fine, yeah.
Mr. Yesterday is sort of not.
I've been re-elected.
Mr. Yesterday is not Mr. Yesterday. Now I'm thinking on my feet, at least. How about, Cruz, since you're coming in new, you are the newly incumbent president, Mr. Lokum.
Coming from exile, or just...
Yeah?
Sure.
Yes? Okay, which is perfect because, that president, even the president who was Poroshenko, who was now elected, he kind of really didn't have he was coming from a chocolate fabric. What am I doing here? How do I talk to these internationals? Yeah. Okay, we have also an additional actor who's Dr. Know-It-All from a famous NGO. Professor Dr. Know-It-All. Yeah? He's sitting right here. Okay, Chifos has just come in, unruly as he is. He comes and goes whenever he likes.
Good morning. Thank you for the wake-up call.
You're welcome. And we still have Miss Elizabeth. She's as strong as she has ever been. Yeah? Mr. and Mrs. Friedel, you're going to appoint within your team. It's the chief negotiator within each mediation team. And we have still our young Mr. Sobchik, who's been sent by Moscow to attend the talks as well. I suggest now that you get within your group into your groups, read the case. It's just one page. I'm going to give you 10 minutes to 15 minutes to read it. You have time for last minute questions, and then we're going to get into the game.
And so the team's obviously the same from yesterday, and so the group 4 from yesterday will do task
Yes.
4 from today.
Is that okay with you? Or would you like to change groups?
I think the group's great.
Yeah?
That's okay.
Okay, because you're sort of in the groove now in that group, yeah?
Yeah, that's good.
Right? Okay, so if there's no questions regarding that, you still have an opportunity to ask questions. Then break up now into groups. Maybe group 1 goes here. Group 2 goes 2 there, 3 there, 4. Setting the goal.
Or reducing the goals,
Yeah.
basically.
We want is in goal setting.
Yeah, or
Okay.
harvesting,
Yeah.
harvesting goal setting.
Okay, Roger? Is there anything that didn't work? No?
Not for mine.
Okay.
Reinforcing the agreement that's already there about the process. Focus on process. And saying that there is a process and you all agree with that process.
Anything that didn't work for you? Any major insight?
I'm not sure. No.
Okay.
I thought the general composure of the mediators was really good. So those,
Attitude and composure.
Yeah, I thought it was very.
Okay. Something that didn't work?
Can't really think of anything.
Okay. Because all these people think that's just
Yeah. Especially summing up all the common ground and common concerns.
nice. Summing up. Okay, so what didn't work?
So it didn't work to me. The whole way that the mediation was handled, I would think, not enough preliminary talks, not enough preparation.
Okay. You need more preparation.
Yeah, including with mother heart.
Uh-huh, yeah. Thank you. Khalid.
I guess, yeah, having at least common interest, agreeing on having on a common interest, and whether when it comes to desire and passion for peace, or to continue on eating together to discuss this.
Right. Focus on common interest. Anything that didn't work for you?
Yeah, I guess there was trust building. Yeah, like. So
Okay.
then, of course, with the time,
You need more time for trust building.
Trust in, for them also to trust the process and trust.
Thank you. Would you like to come in? Okay.
What was for me was the mediator's abilities to spell out the objectives at the beginning of especially the beginning of the
That did not work.
Yeah.
that worked.
Ah, that worked.
Oh, that worked.
Yeah.
Okay.
And what did not work for me was the co-mediation that was a bit uncomfortable.
Very good. Next.
The most important part, and I'm seeing that we didn't spend enough time there, was when they took out a list and started writing what the stakeholders wanted.
Ah.
And it
The
just,
visualization, was that the fact that it was on a...
well, yeah, when I have meetings, I have action point things that I want to accomplish. And it seems that we spend more time on the process than actual meeting the needs of the stakeholders. And I think in the process, it created a lot of kind of antagonism and emotion, and it just distracted from really what we wanted to do. But I'm confused if you need that time to vent, and you know, I'm not quite sure about that. But it seemed like we just spent little time on what the needs are.
Okay.
More time on your
We good?
Well, I don't know. For me, what worked well in general was mediators teams taking over in different phases. I was actually amazed by that, because rarely in groups that functions like that. You know, people are usually confused when they come into the role of mediator. So that was good. I mean, it could not be perfect, but generally I think that it was, that point was very good. So. What did not work? Yeah. Well, similar that they didn't agree on any issue, but that was explained already. Yeah.
Okay. Good.
What did not work for me was too many people at the table.
Too many people at the table?
For a
Okay.
conversation it becomes a bit
Yeah.
difficult to have a
Right.
dialogue actually. And what worked for me was some of the issues already.
Okay. Excellent. Thank you.
Yeah, like me also. But it's an opportunity to face each other and to opportunity to hear each other. I think it's good.
Great. As colleagues as
Yes.
well. Yeah. So what you're saying is that it's nice to have a simulation to test out your skills. Good.
I have one. For me, it worked the element of surprise actually.
Okay.
With Pascal jumping in and being rude to everybody. It didn't work for me.
And a bit of spice. Yeah. Okay. Next.
Yes.
What works? Flexibility, adaptation to the unexpected, and also to openness of the mind. And what doesn't work? Lack of presence and attention to what's going on.
Thank you. Who's next?
For me, the work, the not work is really the same topic. It's
Yeah.
for me understanding where the trade-off is. I saw a big difference in my approach and Roger's. Yeah, he focused a lot more on the emotional side.
Yeah.
Yeah, but maybe then sort of moving away from the concrete issues. It was more about bring them on board again. But
you know, less about actually coming out with.
You actually got stuck into some of the hard stuff, and I never thought we would.
Yeah, but I wasn't emotional enough.
Okay, just
Yeah.
focus on what worked, yeah?
So that the emotional
Yeah.
part I found worked well,
Right.
but maybe a little to the detriment of progressing the discussion. Whereas in my case, we were focused on, you know, let's start getting these issues on the table, to the detriment though of creating a relationship with the with the parties at the
That's
table.
why I say lack of attention at that point.
Or maybe one of the things is striking the balance of in approach, or you know, your
Yeah, how do you mix the two? Yeah.
Yeah.
We had different goals by then. We were just seeking them to get together again.
Okay.
Yeah.
If you want to go for lunch, we have to focus ourselves to one sentence.
This
Yeah.
is- and I think, I mean, much of what worked
Yeah.
has been mentioned, but just, we also talked about what didn't work, and I think ground rules in the beginning would have
Ground
been-
rules. Yeah, what did not work. Yeah, I actually should have reframed that. Yeah.
I'll give you nice and easy. What worked, caucus. What didn't work, caucus.
Okay.
Reason, what worked, caucus, obviously we talked about why it's important. What didn't work is that the mediator from RO should have, during the breaks, been the one to actually suggest the caucus and be involved and participate in the caucus.
Okay, great, very concrete feedback. Alex?
What didn't work, just a sort of procedural thing, for the agenda on the board, I would never put people's names, parties' names, and I'll try to simplify as much as possible, so just like simple words.
Right,
And list them. Because it kind of, if they complete it, then we could see Chifos's name there the whole time.
Yeah, and you associate that issue with that.
So,
Yeah, I had that on my list too. Very good.
What worked was, I really liked that I think everyone put in an effort to remind people of the positives. Like Roger, you said you all agree you want peace. And there was this pause, and it was really reminding people of like what they agree on. I think people would think, and Kristen, at the end, you actually summarized everything, and you kind of focused on what people had achieved. So I think it's always important to remind people of these things, that because we always focus on the conflict, on the negatives, and our role as a mediator is to remind people of the positives as well.
Yeah, that's true. Very good. Next?
For me, what worked was flexibility, because I felt like participants were more or less flexible. For example, I wouldn't let someone in when the process has started already. What didn't work, I think, technical part, like sitting arrangements, I still think we could do more if we have more time.
Sure.
Like maybe advisors could sit behind their representatives and all these kind of things.
Absolutely. That's the whole science of that. Yeah, absolutely. Okay?
Yeah.
Yeah. Pascal?
I found the emotional approach for Joe worked well in the end, because it brought people into a yes mood, and this maybe also contributed to the yes that you got actually for the next meeting.
Mm-hmm.
This worked well.
Okay. Anything else? No?
And no.
Next?
I like very much the surprise element and the attitude of Pascal.
Okay.
It was quite interesting and challenging how he took over all the discussions.
Okay.
But the protocol side of the discussions was shouldn't take all this place in the meeting. So the name, president or not president, how we see it, how it should be prepared before everybody sits at the table.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. So protocol framework issues should be decided beforehand.
But could I just quickly, on that point, I think something that might seem trivial to a mediator can be really, really important.
Absolutely.
So I think it's dangerous for us to...
I even have a simulation game on that, if you ever want one. Okay. Thank you.
I think I'm going to turn if I may.
Yeah, we're going to photograph them. I guess, Pascal, you're doing a protocol of this afterwards, yeah?
What didn't work was bringing me as a party, but then not let me make an opening statement. I had to ask for my opening statement,
Okay.
but I was brought in as a party.
Mm-hmm. Give everybody space.
Now, if you bring people in as a party, you should really acknowledge their presence.
Yeah.
It was entirely personal.
Good point.
And then
Just listen what Elizabeth has to say, otherwise she gets angry. Or I get angry.
no, that's it.
Yeah, okay.
It's already been made.
Okay. Say hi, do you want to?
I think not only, but I think discussing where he should sit down is taking time and doesn't show professionalism.
Can you say that again?
Because when Pascal interrupted, they
Yeah.
were discussing, it took quite some time to discuss where he could sit and
Yeah.
it was open. I would say directly do the takeout and then discuss it.
Okay, yeah, so it's the important focus, yeah.
And the columnists worked of certain parties that they were able to calm down the parties and to take the authority or the lead at least.
Okay, good.
What didn't work for me was like I think you have to good preparation, co-mediation. Like if you have contrary characters on, the focus is different. You have really good preparation on that and how you're going to deal with that. So better preparation on co-mediation.
Yeah, really challenging.
Have that on the other side.
Yeah.
You want me to repeat it or it's okay?
No, that's okay.
Okay.
I would have
Oh, so yeah.
I would have clarified better the rules of the people on the table.
Okay, face again, sitting, yeah.
And also only the last group Roger presents each one of the people from the team. So he said this person is this person is that, I mean their names or something like that.
That's worked, yeah.
And I said that they might jump in from time to time. We decided to do it differently.
Yeah.
That was excellent.
And I think this creates a good environment. It's better than this is my team. There.
1 second point, yeah?
I said better preparation, co-mediation.
For this.
The way you work together.
Question regarding the co-mediation.
Which is the same as on the other side.
Oh, is it? Okay, no problem. Excuse me.
This is why I asked you, do you want me to repeat it? No problem.
Okay,
So this is the second time.
Yeah?
Then the mediation.
Positive things, I think, several already mentioned at the moment. Negative thing, I think that there was not equal time given to the different parties. Mr. Chikos was kind of
okay. Very good. Yeah, Nico?
Yeah, the good things have like been said on my side, and again, thing of time distribution was kind of like we should have organized better, like who speaks how much.
Interesting.
But therefore, the mediators would have had needed a like more stronger hand.
Isn't that somehow
time allocation?
That's a bit contradicting of what we said earlier. That is, I mean, you need to. I mean, you have people need to talk, to tell their stories, and they need to speak, and you need to let them speak. I mean, that's contradicting.
But you can say, you know, you can give it some time. Huh? So that's absolutely, it is in contradiction, but you know, you give it a time frame.
But the problem was we only had 15 minutes. So
15 minutes. That's only okay.
I think apart from the other things, the involvement of everybody, actors, mediators, is positive, and is negative. Probably something that I have already experienced in my training when changing mediators in simulation. So you have not the time. The time was already short, and you couldn't in any case follow a strategy of production. So the changing of the teams.
It's always something.
I have already experienced this,
Absolutely.
and at the end I decided to okay, one mediator or one team of mediator. Let's do it.
Yeah.
But it was interesting because each one was able to show something,
absolutely.
more than something.
Yeah.
Congratulations to the mediators.
Excellent. Yeah.
Yeah, caucus, and then I don't call it what didn't work, but areas to improve.
Thank you.
Caucus also because I thought that in that caucus that happened, maybe one of the mediator could have stayed with the parties, and only one mediator talked to the group because both mediators left the people. No, difficult. That's the reason why there was chaos. Maybe one would have stayed. Thank you.
Very good. And last but not least, Linda.
You know, I think everything that I was thinking about has been said, but just a couple of comments. I didn't realize that you could have a timed response from parties, so that was new to me. And also the other thing is I would never have thought about leaving one of the mediators at the table while the other went to caucus, because it's so different from what I've experienced.
Okay.
So those are great.
Insights, some insights, yeah. Good. Okay, now every single second is eating into your lunch. Yeah. Literally.
Just a quick one. I was interested in how that caucus process worked, but at the table and they went away, as opposed to sending Pascal away for a minute to have a cup of tea and asking the meeting and getting the authority of the meeting, or getting some understanding of the meeting. What do you think? What do people think?
Anybody wants to?
I don't know that's the right answer.
Yeah?
I mean, you have to sort of, as the mediator, at least in my experience, know when you want the caucus to be the two parties by themselves, because you're reaching a point of either you're almost there and they need to sort of talk it out a little bit without you. And in the beginning of the process, like we were experiencing, and it's accretive for the mediator too, when you come back to the formal table, that you're there to sort of sidebar with them. And even if you're not saying much, you're listening, so if you come back now to meet your objectives, you already know what, you're already planning, you're not being surprised. And that's sort of.
Good, I think I went way over time, we all went way over time. I tried to manage it as tightly as possible. This closes our section of the mediation training. We'll have 2 more sessions tomorrow. From our side, I wanted to thank all of you, including the organizers, for their wonderful, setting it up, organizing it here. It was an extremely enriching experience for us, and it was also very enriching to have my family. Thanks for welcoming them so kindly. And it was really a wonderful experience. Thanks very much, and I wish you much of success in the continuation and until tomorrow.
Thank you as well, Antje. It was great to have you here. And for this intense 4.5 days, and I'm sure 4.5 days, and I'm sure we could still be discussing for much more hours. We have your small gift as well, and it was really great and interesting, and we experienced how challenging it is to do